Most people treat prayer like an emergency exit, a narrow door they only rush toward when the building of their life is already on fire. We have conditioned ourselves to view the divine as a cosmic first responder, someone to call when the brakes fail or the heart breaks. However, your soul was never meant to live in a state of constant evacuation, always running away from disaster rather than walking in a state of prepared peace. True spiritual safety is not found in the frantic petition of a victim, but in the intentional positioning of a soul that understands the necessity of covering. The invisible architecture of safety begins long before the first crisis of the afternoon arrives. It is a shifting of the internal landscape from reactive rescue to proactive positioning, where the battle for your peace is won before your first foot even hits the cold floor in the morning. Imagine for a moment that your day is not a series of random events, but a structural environment you must inhabit. If you enter that environment without the proper covering, you are essentially walking into a spiritual vacuum, vulnerable to every pressure and every toxin that the world intends to throw your way. Consider the pre-flight checklist of a seasoned pilot as a metaphor for the soul's morning preparation. A pilot never waits for the engines to fail at 30,000 feet to check the fuel levels or the integrity of the hydraulic systems. They secure the integrity of the vessel while it is still on the tarmac, in the quiet stillness before the roar of the journey begins. Morning protection is that tarmac moment, a deliberate verification of your spiritual altitude and your connection to the source of all power, ensuring that you are flight ready before the winds of daily life begin to howl. God's covering is not merely a temporary umbrella held over your head to keep you dry during a sudden storm. It is more akin to atmospheric pressure. It is the invisible force that keeps your internal world from collapsing under the immense weight of the external environment. When we fail to seek this covering, we are like deep-sea divers who attempt to descend into the crushing depths of the ocean without a pressurized suit. The weight of the world is too heavy for the human spirit to carry alone. We require a divine buffer that regulates our internal state against the external chaos. There is a profound psychological reality to this spiritual habit. Research into positive religious coping suggests that individuals who proactively seek connection with the divine before facing stressors possess a significantly higher level of resilience. This isn't just a theological idea, it is a biological buffer. When you begin your day by intentionally placing yourself under God's protection, you are lowering your physiological reactivity. You are essentially telling your nervous system that it is not in charge of your survival, thereby reducing cortisol levels and allowing your mind to operate from a place of wisdom rather than a place of survival-driven fear. However, there is a specific part of your day that remains vulnerable, even if you pray, unless you apply one specific layer of intentionality. Many people pray for general safety, but forget to secure the seams of their soul, those moments of transition where we switch from our private spiritual life to our public professional life. If we do not consciously carry the covering from the prayer closet into the boardroom or the kitchen, we leave a gap in our armor. Protection must be comprehensive, a seamless garment that wraps around every facet of our existence, leaving no area exposed to the erosion of worldly anxiety. What if the chaos you are currently experiencing is not a sign of God's absence, but a result of an unfastened shield? We often blame the intensity of the spiritual battle for our exhaustion, yet we rarely examine whether we actually took the time to fasten the buckles of our spiritual armor. God provides the armor, but the act of putting it on is a human responsibility. It is a daily rhythmic choice to align ourselves with the hiding place, acknowledging that while the world is full of trouble,
Our primary residence is located beneath the shadow of the Almighty.
The concept of a hiding place in ancient texts implies more than just a cave to crawl into. It suggests a proactive refuge, a place that was prepared in advance for the weary traveler. To treat God as a refuge means to acknowledge that the world is a wilderness and that we cannot survive the exposure without a sanctuary. This sanctuary is not a physical location, but a spiritual posture. By starting your morning under this covering, you are building a fortress around your mind, ensuring that the arrows of criticism, the fires of stress, and the floods of overwhelm cannot penetrate your inner sanctum. There is a hidden strength in the underneath that most believers ignore until they are already falling. We often focus on the heights of spiritual experience, wanting to soar like eagles, but the true foundation of safety lies in the everlasting arms that support us from below. Divine protection is as much about what is beneath you as what is above you. These everlasting arms represent a support system that never tires and never wavers. When you consciously position yourself over these arms through morning prayer, you find that even if you stumble, your fall is caught by a strength that is older than the earth itself. To put on the armor of God is not a metaphor for a religious ritual, but a psychological and spiritual clothing of the self. Each piece of the armor, truth, righteousness, peace, faith, serves as a specific layer of protection for the different dimensions of our humanity. The belt of truth protects our core identity from the lies of inadequacy. The breastplate of righteousness protects our heart from the poison of guilt. When we neglect to put on these attributes through intentional morning meditation, we enter the day spiritually naked, wondering why the world's thorns are able to draw blood so easily. Consider the comprehensive scope of this protection. It is not just for your spiritual life, as if that were a separate category from your actual life. The covering of God is intended to extend over your mind, regulating your thoughts, over your body, preserving your health, over your work, sanctifying your efforts, and over your family, shielding your loved ones. When we ask for this covering, we are exercising our stewardship over the territory God has given us. We are acting as the gatekeepers of our own lives, refusing to allow anything to enter that has not passed through the filter of divine grace. Many of us struggle with the idea of morning protection because we view it as a chore, another item on a never-ending to-do list. But if you viewed it as a pre-flight checklist for your soul, you would realize that it is the most efficient thing you can do. A few minutes of intentional positioning in the morning can save you hours of emotional repair in the evening. It is easier to maintain your peace than it is to recover it once it has been stolen. By securing the perimeter of your spirit before the sun is high in the sky, you are investing in a stability that will pay dividends throughout the day. The reality is that we are constantly being bombarded by spiritual and emotional frequencies. Just as radio waves fill the air around us, so do the frequencies of fear, anger, and hopelessness. Without a divine covering, our spirits act like open antennas, picking up every negative signal in our environment. Morning protection functions as a frequency filter. It tunes your heart to the resonance of heaven, allowing you to hear the still small voice of guidance, even in the midst of a noisy office or a chaotic household. It creates a sanctuary of silence within the center of your soul. We must also recognize that protection is a communal responsibility. When we cover ourselves, we are better able to cover those around us. A parent who starts their day under the shadow of the Almighty brings that shadow into the home, creating an atmosphere of safety for their children. A leader who is spiritually anchored provides a non-anxious presence for their team. Your morning habit of protection is not just about your personal safety, it is about becoming a source of stability for everyone you encounter. You cannot give what you have not first received in the secret place of prayer.
There is a profound mystery in the way God's protection works alongside our human agency. It is a partnership of presence. God provides the refuge, but we must choose to enter it. He provides the armor, but we must choose to wear it. He provides the everlasting arms, but we must choose to lean on them. This daily choice is the highest expression of our faith. It is an admission that we are not self-sufficient, and in that admission, we find a strength that the self-sufficient can never know. It is the strength of the surrendered soul, hidden in the heart of God. As you move through the hours of your day, the covering you applied in the morning acts as a constant mediator. When a difficult conversation arises, the shield of peace stands between you and the potential conflict. When a tempting thought enters your mind, the helmet of salvation protects your perspective. This is the invisible architecture of safety in action, a dynamic, living barrier that responds to the specific needs of the moment. You are never truly alone when you are covered, for the presence that protects you is the same presence that empowers you.
The habit of morning protection also addresses the deep-seated human need for belonging. To be covered is to be claimed. It is a sign that you belong to a kingdom that looks after its own. In ancient cultures, to spread one's garment over another was an act of adoption and protection. When you seek God's covering every morning, you are reminding yourself of whose you are. You are declaring that you are not a spiritual orphan, fending for yourself in a hostile world, but a child of the King, entitled to the full protection of the heavenly host. Think of the underneath once more. The everlasting arms are not just there for the moments of crisis. They are the floor upon which you stand. Every step you take is supported by a grace you did not earn and a power you do not control. When you acknowledge this in the morning, you walk with a different kind of confidence. It is not the arrogant confidence of the self-made person, but the quiet, unshakable confidence of the person who knows they are held. This realization changes your posture, your tone of voice, and your ability to face the unknown with a smile. But what about the moments when the protection seems to fail? What about the days when we pray for covering and yet the storm still hits? It is in these moments that we must understand the nature of the hiding place. It is not always a place of total exemption from trouble, but it is always a place of total preservation through trouble. The covering ensures that while the storm may touch your circumstances, it cannot destroy your essence. It ensures that the fire may be hot, but you will not come out smelling like smoke. The shield is not a wall that keeps the world out. It is a filter that only lets in what can be used for your growth. The habit of daily morning protection is, ultimately, an act of love. It is a way of honoring the life you have been given by treating it as something worth protecting. It is an act of love toward yourself, ensuring you have the resources to thrive. It is an act of love toward others, ensuring you do not project your unmanaged stress onto them. And it is an act of love toward God, acknowledging that His presence is the most vital necessity of your day. It is the daily amen to His promise of constant care, a beautiful rhythm of trust and safety. When you begin to live from a place of proactive positioning, the entire rhythm of your life changes. You no longer wake up in a state of dread, wondering what the day will do to you. Instead, you wake up in a state of preparation, knowing what you will do with the day. You become the architect of your own atmosphere. You realize that the invisible architecture of safety is not built once and then forgotten, but is reconstructed every single morning through the simple, profound act of turning your heart toward the light before the shadows have a chance to grow. Let this be your new standard. Never leave the tarmac without your checklist. Never descend into the depths without your suit. Never enter the battle without your armor. The spiritual habit of daily morning protection is the key to a life of sustained peace and enduring strength. It is the difference between a life spent reacting to the world and a life spent responding to the divine. Position yourself today. Fasten your shield. Lean into the everlasting arms. For there and only there will you find the safety your soul has been longing for since the beginning of time. In the silence of the early hours, as the world still sleeps, you have the opportunity to set the trajectory for everything that follows. Do not waste that sacred window of time. Use it to build your fortress. Use it to secure your covering. Use it to remind yourself that you are protected, you are loved, and you are never alone. The battle is won in the quiet, and the victory is carried into the noise. This is the secret of the saints, the wisdom of the ages, and the path to a life that is truly, eternally secure.
As you step out into the day, carry the awareness of the underneath. Feel the support of the arms that hold the stars in place. Let the atmospheric pressure of God's peace keep your heart steady and your mind clear. You are not just surviving, you are being carried. You are not just walking, you are being guided. The covering is complete, the protection is absolute, and the architecture of your safety is as eternal as the one who built it. Live today from that place of security, and watch as the world loses its power to shake you. Ultimately, the habit of morning protection is about reclaiming your sovereignty over your own spirit. You are refusing to be a victim of circumstance and choosing instead to be a participant in divine providence. You are deciding that your internal state will be dictated by the kingdom of heaven rather than the chaos of earth. This is the highest form of spiritual maturity, to know